I'd like to call this meeting to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. In absence of Mr. Zarzaki, Ms. Chick, can you please call roll?
Yes, I will. Mr. Roman?
Here.
Ms. Chick is here. Mr. Zarzeki is absent with notice. Mr. Cousineau? Here. Mr. Iaquinto?
Here.
Ms. Infante is absent with notice, and Mr. Dwyer is absent with notice. We have a quorum.
Thank you.
Make a motion to adopt the agenda with changing item 10, B, and C in front of A.
I support. Any questions on the motion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Call to the public. Anyone wishing to address the Planning Commission tonight? No? Seeing none, we'll move on. There'll be no clarifications from commissioners in that case. Correspondence, anything, Ms. Byrd?
No.
There's no public hearings tonight. Reports of committees, Board of Trustees, Ms. Chick.
The Board of Trustees met November 12th. The board approved the request from Terra Firma to rezone properties from AR Agricultural to LI Limited Industrial District. The board also approved a request from Terra Firma for conditional use to operate a landscaping business with outdoor storage and materials. The board approved ordinance 19-66, marijuana zoning regulations, amend the zoning ordinance to allow marijuana establishments as conditional uses in certain zoning districts and to establish regulations and standards for their operation. The board also approved an extension, the board also approved ordinance 19-67, marijuana permit regulations to add chapter 23 to the Code of Ordinances. The board also approved an extension of the opt-out ordinance to December 17th to accommodate the timeline for the publication of the adoption of the marijuana ordinances. Applications will be accepted after publication period and the expiration of the opt-out ordinance has passed. As an update, as of Monday, however, the date of the end of the publication notification and application acceptance will be extended to the end of December due to a problem with getting the notifications published. At our next board meeting, a new date will be established. The board approved directing the Planning Commission to consider the 4 new business licenses for recommendations. And that's all I have.
I'm sorry, what was the last item?
The board approved directing the Planning Commission to consider the 4 new business licenses, marijuana businesses, for recommendation. Oh, also, the board also approved the grows of greater than 500 plants in the RTM, along with the general industrial and limited industrial areas.
Thank you. ZBA report, Mr. Cousineau.
Well, we met the other day. I wasn't there. So Mary, how did we do? There were three items on the agenda.
Yes, we had 3 cases. One that, they were all approved. One was a duplex, a residential dwelling that was turned into a duplex without approvals, was purchased by a new owner, and they are going through the process to get a conditional use as a duplex. So we will be seeing her at the Planning Commission.
Oh.
She's in the process of filing her applications now.
Mary, is the mic on?
Yep.
Okay.
It is.
Thank you.
So she will be doing a conditional use site plan for Planning Commission, probably sometime in December, hopefully, or January. The other one was a parcel division with 1-to-4 ratio that was approved for 5 lots. School district was crossing through some of them, so that was an issue. And then the third one was a deck, 2 decks at Lakeshore Drive, and they were approved also.
Thank you, Mary.
Thank you. Staff report, Ms. Byrd.
I have nothing.
Nothing, no. Planning consultant report, Mr. Lippens.
I have nothing, although I could expand on the progress with the, actually, I could expand on the marijuana ordinance issues, but I think it was well covered by Trustee Chick. One thing I will say is also, we have been continuing to make progress on, in the North Village Committee, on reviewing qualifications for prospective developers for the North Village site. We did receive a purchase offer from the second applicant, A.R. Brower, and a letter of continued interest from the first developer, Livonia Builders. And that item has been placed on the board agenda next week as well. So progress in that as well.
Thank you. Parks and Recs report, Mr. Equinto.
We have a meeting tomorrow here on the second floor of this building for our November meeting, and the public is welcome. Thank you.
Thanks. And there's no downtown planning group in the absence of Ms. Infante. Okay, we'll go to item 10. It would actually be B, since we had the change in the agenda. It's case JPC 190007 to approve with conditions or deny Whitmore Lake Climate Storage, 6684 Whitmore Lake Road, for conditional use to allow many warehousing storage facilities. Mr. Lippens.
You have both the conditional use approval and the site plan approval on the agenda this evening. Both were tabled the last time this case appeared before Planning Commission, and there were really two outstanding questions at that time. One was a mostly kind of administrative minor site plan change related to how the parking was calculated. In working with the applicant's engineer and reviewing the variance, we knew that the parking had received a variance. It was just a question of having it stated accurately according to the variance, and we believe that has been resolved at this time. They did receive a variance, so we just wanted it to be stated accurately on the plan. The other issue was the variance that was received for masonry. We had directed the applicant to use 50% masonry on the structures according to the variance that was received from the masonry qualifications. At the meeting, there were comments from myself and Commissioner Zarzecki about what constituted masonry and what doesn't. Planning Commission requested masonry material as well as building diagrams. I believe the packet includes those revisions. We also have a sample. Ms. Bird, I believe, has that sample, and we could pass it around, or is it over here now? Of the material. It's a thin brick. It will be surface mounted to the buildings. And it is a masonry material, and it's a type of material that we've seen applied to meet masonry requirements on other projects. I did, over email, consult with Commissioner Zarzecki about it too, who is obviously an expert in the subject, although unfortunately he's not here this evening. But we'd like to see this plan move forward. We are recommending approval of both the conditional use and the site plan this evening. The material in the packet is there for Planning Commission to review, and I'm here for questions, and the applicant has arrived also. Can hear questions. The conditional use, we did not reissue that letter because our recommendation was approval initially of the conditional use if the site plan issues were addressed. So we didn't feel that reissuing that letter was of value to township per se. But I'd be happy to talk about that as well. We did provide an updated and revised letter on the site plan. And I don't know if Ron has any comments about the engineering on the site, or if you have questions from the applicant.
Right. We'll hold on comments on the site. Actually, I just wanted to do the conditional use first, but I know you gave us an update on the next item, which is the site plan also. So you're basically combining, do you have any further items to discuss, Mr. Lippens, regarding both then, before we go to Mr. Cavallaro?
No, I mean, I'm open for questions,
Okay.
but I think that's my update.
Okay, thank you. In that case, let's go with the conditional use first. I make a motion to approve and recommend to the Board of Trustees approval of the conditional use case JPC 190007 of Whitmore Lake Climate Storage to allow mini warehousing storage facilities under Article 23.1.
Support.
Supported by Mr. Iaquino. Any questions, comments on that motion? Seeing none, we'll do a roll call vote.
Mr. Roman?
Yes.
Ms. Chick, yes. Mr. Cusino?
Yes.
And Mr. Iaquinto?
Yes.
The motion passes.
Thank you. Now we'll go to item C, which is the next one is a site plan approval. Case JPC 190007. Approve with conditions or deny Whitmore Lake Climate Storage at 6684 Whitmore Lake Road for site plan approval to add additional storage buildings. And Mr. Lippens spoke some on there, and we can go to Mr. Cavallaro for the engineer update.
There was a couple items outstanding from our previous submittal that they gave us, referring to the clarifying the circulation and noting that a dry hydrant needed to be repaired. They resubmitted the plans, everything was taken care of, and in our November 13th letter, we just noted the couple of permits that they still need to obtain to get us copies of. That's all.
Thank you. So, is there any other questions from the commissioners regarding, or comments regarding the site plan? No? Okay, well, I'll start. Mr. Lippens, you indicated that you had contact with Mr. Zarzecki regarding the exterior, the brick veneer. Was that just through email, or was there another meeting or something that you mentioned?
No, it was just through email.
Okay.
When I received the specs, I emailed with Commissioner Zarzecki just to field his opinion on whether or not it qualified as a masonry structure. And we are masonry material, and I find the email, but I believe he concurred that it was. Let's see. But yes, it was an email communication. We didn't meet, and I didn't get his personal reactions to the material.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to, this is my perspective as one commissioner. I'm not speaking for the whole commission. When we met on this item originally, August 21st, 2019, I had to go back. I actually went back and watched the video recording of the meeting just to verify, make sure I wasn't mistaken. But in that meeting, I stated that there was no wall section. We confirmed it's a steel building with a veneer exterior. The ZBA report and the variance was for masonry structure 4 foot above grade and wrap around the ends 5 foot in lieu of full masonry. I stated what is proposed is not what the variance granted is. We had following comments from the commissioners, Mr. Dwyer, Mr. Zarzecki. I clarified that the commission is looking for masonry. It was indicated that block with brick, combination thereof, would be considered masonry as far as I know of. And I said again, what is proposed from the applicant was not exactly what the variance was granted for. Mr. Iaquinto agreed. Mr. Lippens suggested tabling the case and to get with the applicant and come back. Mr. Lippens did state the applicant has the kit building approved, which in part is correct if you were to place that on masonry. But I still have issue with the actual proposal of what is being used. What you have is a metal building with metal studs with a veneer exterior that appears to be masonry. The structure itself is still a steel building, it's not masonry. So I myself, I still have issue. Unfortunately, I don't know how this was communicated to the applicant, but with the present, most recent submittal, I still don't see a change. So I'll let other commissioners or Mr. Lippens reply if you like.
I think your comments are noted. This is a masonry veneer on a metal building. It's not the same as a construction masonry structure. But the variance that was received was for 50% masonry, and the buildings that were proposed at that time were the metal buildings. So I think it was presumed that they were going to do a facade. The question whether that facade was a full brick or a thin brick was not resolved, and I think the design decision on that does rest with Planning Commission. I think Planning Commission would be, it's within your purview to request a full brick material, to review the quality of the material. I think that this is mostly an aesthetic issue. We want buildings that look good, and I know this material looks good from being used on other buildings. I did find the email I received from Commissioner Zarzecki. To be clear, he did note that the 4-inch brick veneers are more durable, and they typically are about 50%, 50 cents more per square foot than the thin brick application. That the thin brick application as a veneer, and I'm not sure exactly which type this qualifies under, could last between, it looks like 6 to 10 years in his estimation. I'm thinking, here it says, thin brick adhered to a concrete block system is considered a 25-year application. If it's adhered to a metal siding, looks like 6 to 10 year application. So it has a longer lasting depending on where it's adhered, and I think I've got to look on the spec to see what system we're looking at here. But I'm just reviewing right now the email I received from Commissioner Zarzecki. So what I take this to mean is that the thin brick is a compromise between a 4-inch brick and a concrete block application.
Thank you. Whereas I'm saying that the biggest compromise is that you're still with a metal building frame with a veneer, which is not a masonry structure. I'm just being specific as to construction practice. So perhaps other commissioners can comment or share their point of view. Mr. Guzzo?
Yeah. I think most metal or steel buildings, I would call them, steel frame buildings, whether they have a block bottom wainscoting or whatever it is, it's a steel building. The block is not a structural part of that building, in my opinion. In most cases, I should say. Lots of times you can have an all-block wall if you want. This existing site has multiple buildings that are already on it that are all metal siding, if I recall correctly. Is that true? So, I think this is a vast improvement over the other product that they were talking about. I'm just looking at it does say it has a 25-year warranty. I'm not quite sure what that entails, but it does claim it's a 25-year product. I'm not familiar with this tab system at all by any stretch of the imagination. Looks interesting. But I would venture to say that the applicant is meeting the requirement that we placed on him.
Thank you, Mr. Aquino.
I guess the issue is the variance is granted by the ZBA because, to me, it's pretty ambiguous and vague. And Paul, can you elaborate on the variance that was granted by the ZBA? Or Brad, because you're on that as well.
My recollection is that the variance was reported as being, 50% masonry. I agree with you that it's somewhat vague, at least from a design perspective. I think that the decision on on interpreting the masonry requirement in the zoning ordinance and versus 100% of that requirement or 50% was given to Planning Commission. Of course, it's Planning Commission's job to approve the site plan. I could, while we talk, try to pull up the ZBA minutes. Yep, I could try to pull up the ZBA minutes or and the letter that we wrote to be more specific in my response. But that's what I remember. Just pretty simple, 50%.
Ms. Chick.
Mr. Lippin, so I understand Mr. Zarzeki was indicating that this material that's being proposed is a masonry product?
I'm reading the email that he wrote me, and he says the client must make the final call, and thin brick is a masonry element covered under IBC and TMS 402 and 602 codes. So yes, I did read that correct and state it correctly prior. He cited the code and said it's a masonry element.
Okay, so this proposal is for new structures and old structures, or just new structures? Were you going to do the older buildings as well?
Ms.
What we're going to do is we were choosing a product that you can apply to our other buildings. that are
Sir,
around.
can you hold the mic close to is it on?
There's a switch on the side, I think.
There you go.
Now, what was your question again?
Would this be used on all of the buildings, the newer and the old ones? Okay.
Eventually, yeah, that's why we chose this product, is that we could apply it retroactively to the rest of our buildings.
Okay, so my the question would be, this material is strong enough to withstand blows from trucks or anything without looking too bad?
Yes, it's going to perform just like masonry on the exterior. There's some other things that have to be, it's on the notes of our plans. There's a couple of things. It's not going to be directly applied to the metal. We updated those notes on the plan to reflect that there will be a layer of dense glass, which is a fiberglass exterior fiberglass product to give us a flat surface. And then from there, we're going to attach the tabs 2 system, which offers the drainage and the spacing for these thin brick materials, and then grout it just like a regular brick in between it.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
If I may just make a quick comment, I believe that the ordinance refers to the exteriors being of masonry, and then I would just like to make the point of even when it is a full brick and it is like a conventional stick-framed house, they still will do the stick-frame walls and then take some precaution to address any moisture that may get behind the brick, such as a tar paper, and then they tie the wall in front of that with an airspace. So generally speaking, it is a full construction, and then they add a masonry, even if it is a full 4-inch brick.
Understood, but according to the building code, the structure is not a masonry structure, it's a wood frame structure in the description that you gave.
So it does say that it has to be a masonry construction?
The code, in response to your question, the ordinance says that it should be a full masonry. That's what the ordinance says. You have a variance for 50% on the height.
Yeah, I believe our variance words is partial masonry exterior, and then I think it's how the variance was actually worded.
Well, that's not how the ordinance itself is, but I'll leave that to Mr. Lippens. I think any other commissioners have questions for the applicant? Mr. Aquino?
I have one for Paul.
Okay.
So,
Thank you, Mr. Evans.
thank you, sir. Paul, with your understanding of the variance, and I'm asking this because, again, we rely a lot on yourself as the planner to give us the recommendation. So with your understanding of the variance, your understanding of the ordinance, is this plan acceptable? And are we, if we approve this as part of the site plan, are we shortchanging our ordinances, or are we holding true to them? That's my concern as a planning commission.
I think that this material is consistent with a masonry requirement, and aesthetically, you can't tell when you look at a building with thin brick if it's thin brick or if it's 4-inch brick, right? But, and this was the point that Commissioner Zarzecki made to me in the reply, yeah, technically this is masonry, but it's not as durable as a 4-inch brick, right? So part of the purpose of having a mason requirement is for durable, long-lasting structures. This proposal has received a variance, practically, this material is going to look good. It's going to make a better looking structure, and I think it's consistent with the requirements as applied to this specific case. I don't think it will inhibit our ability to do a design review or a material review on other projects, no. I don't, and I think it's going to look good. I think this is a good product.
Thank you for that clarification.
Mr. Kuzno?
And I don't have the ordinance in front of me, but do you have that available, Paul? Like,
Yeah.
because according to Vidya's notes here, it says the ordinance requires that buildings to be constructed entirely of masonry. And then he said that the applicants proposed to include masonry for a height of 4 feet. So, I mean, I think, Larry, are you trying to get at the fact that this should be a block wall, basically covered with a brick veneer? Is that what you're thinking?
Correct, or a combination.
Right, so you have to have it's kind of a...
The bottom 4 feet
mixed bag,
technically should be block or brick, block with brick veneer or block itself,
Right, like a split face block.
with
It's gonna be
whatever
between-
texture.
It's going to be between steel columns in that case there, right? Your
No,
steel-
this structure appears to be metal frame. It's just metal studs, metal track with a metal roof.
Oh, so there's no,
frame.
it's not a steel, it's not considered a steel,
There's no I-beams. in other
Okay,
words.
no beams and no columns.
Correct. So that's where we're at. That's my difficulty with it, but,
So as it reads, section 36736 reads, exterior wall of all storage units shall be of masonry construction. That's how it reads.
Pretty vague.
Now, I'm working on finding the minutes from the ZBA meeting too.
I
have-
provided the minutes to
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
So, if there's not any other,
What was the date of the minutes? July 15th. All right, I'll just pull them up for myself. Thank you.
Are the existing buildings on site the same construction as well?
Yes, sir, everything on site right now is the prefabricated metal buildings, except for the two pole buildings that are on site.
Right, so when I hear prefabricated metal, that seems different than just steel stud walls. Are there columns, steel columns associated with this thing?
And if you can visualize, I mean, if you can imagine what it looks like, it's mostly doors, the entire.
that's true,
you know,
right.
So there's,
Right.
um,
So
it's-
between the doors, what do you have?
in between the doors is, they're just metal studs. I think
Metal
they're,
studs.
18 gauge metal studs. the
Okay.
C channel
Yep,
studs.
okay. And then the roof structure is are they trusses or something, or just,
No, it's the roof structure itself, and it's like horizontal, graduating horizontal.
and those are metal as well?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
so, I mean, if the commissioners here, I mean, have a decision, if you want to make the motion, we can hear a motion and go to a vote. Maybe I'm the minority, I take it, but,
Yeah. I think it's mainly it appears to me it's meant to be an aesthetic thing, not necessarily a structural thing. It sounds like our ordinance is vague. I mean, to say masonry construction, that could mean lots of things. There's existing buildings already there that are of the same structure. These will look that much better, having the masonry attached to it. And now, your comment to Ms. Chick was, it can be placed on the other buildings, but you're not intending to do that as part of this process right now, correct?
Not as part of this, no.
Right. Okay.
Ms. Chick?
Mr. Lippens, could you read the ordinance again, please?
So it's section 36736, mini warehousing. There are a number of criteria listed, but number 7 is exterior wall of all storage units shall be of masonry construction.
Okay, but it doesn't indicate what the frame has to be, correct? Just exterior wall.
It doesn't say exterior wall, it says masonry construction. So,
The ordinance says exterior wall, but
under the warehouse, is that what section you're looking at?
yes.
I didn't see exterior, I didn't see where it just stipulated exterior walls.
Because you got dividing walls too, that you're not going to make that.
Those are gonna be metal stud.
Yeah, right, and that's okay too, right?
Yeah, exterior wall of all storage units shall be of masonry construction. That's what I'm reading under section 36736.
Okay, thank you.
Exterior walls,
Correct.
which is what we're discussing.
Yep.
So in all fairness to the applicant, he went through the process, somebody knew that masonry was a requirement, therefore he got the variance. The variance was, okay, instead of full height masonry walls, you can do half height masonry walls and put and go with steel on top, other than that, okay? So in my mind, there's a disconnect between what the applicant submitted and whoever reviewed the plans determined to be acceptable to meet the code. So not a problem of the applicant. I think after the meeting in August, I thought we made it clear what we were looking for and looking to pursue. So here we are 2 months after, and the applicant has a different veneer product, not a difference in the wall structure itself. If the majority of the commissioners feel it meets the spirit of the ordinance, I'm more than happy to entertain a motion and put it to a vote. My problem is although, some may say that the ordinance language is vague, to somebody in construction, it's not vague. Masonry wall means masonry wall. There's very few types. You could have poured concrete that could be textured on the outside, or it could be straight. You could have straight block. You could have split face block. You could have straight block with brick on the outside. There's a combination, but there's not that many options. So I don't want to hold the applicant, in hearing all the discussion, I don't want to hold the applicant any further at this point due to not being clear from the initial onset with the review or somebody in the review process.
I'm just going to ask you a question, Larry. If they had proposed a 4-foot block wall and then put a metal stud wall on top of that and put metal siding on that.
That's what I assumed was going to be
Okay,
the correction.
So in reality, the difference is the bottom 4 feet is block, split face block or something like that.
Durability,
Then a metal stud on top of that.
sure.
Well, in my mind, the durability that's up to them. I mean, they have to live with it. They have to sell their product. They have to have people come and rent from them. If it looks like shabby stuff, then guess what? I'm going to go somewhere else.
Understood, but I'm just trying to fulfill the ordinance,
Yeah, I
the
understand.
language of the ordinance.
Yeah, I'll entertain that. I'll propose a motion
Okay,
to approve this.
site plan.
Yeah, the site plan per. Just trying to get the. Do we have a number on this thing?
It's for case JPC 190007.
Yep, that number there, I propose that we approve it with the, as proposed per our engineer and our planner's comments. And I guess that's it.
Supported by Ms. Chick. Any questions, comments on that motion? Mr. Iaquinto.
I'm torn because I don't want to set a precedent that can easily take away from the ordinance.
Required a variance to begin with.
Mr. Lippens, can you give Mr. Iaquinto a response on that concern?
As I previously stated, I think that this approval is for a unique property under unique circumstances, and a variance was granted by the ZBA, which allowed for partial masonry, and Planning Commission is making a determination as to whether or not the proposal meets the specifics of the variance. There's been some discussion about it. But it is a masonry material, and certainly the building will be partial masonry. Reading through the notes while we've been talking here, I think this is consistent with the report given to the ZBA by the zoning administrator. And I don't think a precedent is being established here as to what masonry construction means with regards to future projects. That's my professional planning opinion.
Okay, thank you.
Any others? So do roll call vote. Ms. Chick?
Mr. Roman?
Nay.
Ms. Chick, yes. Mr. Kuzno?
Yes.
Mr. Iaquinto?
Yes.
Okay, motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you, congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
May I address
Yes, sir.
Chick's question? My wife and I bought a facility about 17 years ago, had 2 metal buildings. And we came to the township, got two more metal buildings. We believe it's time to upgrade the facility. It's going to make it look good. We got 3 phases. Our intention is to repaint everything, and after the 3 phases, we believe we're going to put facade on the other buildings. We're going to put $10,000 worth of trees in. My son Jeff is a contractor, food contractor. He's a finish carpenter. He runs it for us, and I think you'll see it'll be great improvements to the facility.
Oh, thank you, we appreciate that.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, next item, unfinished business. 10, it would be A. It's been reversed. Mr. Lippens, is this strictly an upgrade or update, or is this, there's no action tonight?
There's no action. This is an update. You know, given the discussion that we had at the last committee, I wanted Planning Commission to know, especially since we were talking about possibly having a special meeting, that there were a number of items that were still in discussion, mostly regarding the dry hydrant and the stormwater, which could drastically change the orientation or layout of the site. Ron might want to talk about that since he's been in contact with the applicant regarding these issues.
Yeah, we're actually meeting with them tomorrow about the stormwater management system, so we'll have some more information at that time. But we did a cursory review of their plans, and they still have some more work to go.
Right, as indicated in both your reports, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Yes, all the commissioners received that, so I'm sure if there's any questions, we need to address it after all the information's been provided and the newest report comes to us. So, any commissioners have any comments, questions? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to new business. There is none. I make a motion, we approve the minutes of November 6, 2019 regular meeting and dispense with reading.
Support.
Supported by Mr. Iaquinto. Any comments, questions, corrections on the minutes? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it. Final call to the public. Seeing there is none, we'll move to comments from commissioners. We'll start with Mr. Kuzno.
I understand where you're coming from on that last one, Larry, and I do agree that that would be a preferred way to do it, but I don't think that it's something that we need to push too hard to make them get to that point. That's my only comment.
Thank you. Mr. Iaquinto?
No comments, sir, thank you.
Ms. Chick?
So would it be worth it to look back at that ordinance that has been quoted and make it a little less vague, so there's no, or do you think it's sufficient as it's stated, Mr. Bowman?
In my opinion, there's no definition of masonry in the code, in the ordinance. That's number one. And
Okay.
we are to do a review
Okay,
still. Besides the point, I don't think the ordinance needs to be further defined. It's a standard construction process and understanding of what it is. Again, and I don't know if you're finished with your comments, but
I am.
you are? Okay, so I guess I'll continue. I guess I'm most disappointed that after a meeting, the prior meeting and a discussion, there was no change or requirement change made on the applicant. So in other words, we had a meeting in August, stated what the Planning Commission would like to see. It went through the process. The applicant did what he thought was right in discussion with, I'm assuming, Mr. Lippens, and yet the comments that the commission made were disregarded, and we're left with basically the same, just the same plan, just a different product on the exterior. So that I'm very disappointed with. If there needs to be, if there's any question regarding the type of construction, I think it should go to Mr., the building official, Mr. Kurt Weiland. I'm sorry. I've known Kurt for a long time, and his name I just forgot. I'm sorry. If there's a question regarding the type of construction, it should go to him, and any concern code-wise that might present itself, he's the one to ask. But I thought we made ourselves clear, apparently not. Also, the fact that, you know, this is an existing place that's trying to be upgraded, I understand that, but then again, we can't disregard the requirements of the ordinance. So that's all the comments I have. I'd like to announce the next regular meeting, December 4th, 2019, and make a motion to adjourn.
Support.
Supported by Mr. Aquino. Any questions? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you.
Happy Thanksgiving.